Okay, so we are recording right now. Okay, so it's the 22nd of January, 2018.
Yes, take three.
I know.
Either
Yeah.
way, we get your message out. That's all I care about. Either way, we still we get it out.
Well, it will reach who it's supposed to reach, and that's all we can do. But
Yep.
so how is it? How does your house feel?
Because you did it. I think I was out. I had to go to a client, and I came home. I'm like, I just feel it feels so calm, and I'm like, I almost want to test it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, what's happening here now? But like, the cat's sound asleep, and he doesn't usually sleep right now. And you know what I mean? It's just a calm energy when I walked in.
Yeah, that's the idea of it.
Oh yeah,
Calm,
yes.
calm and peaceful. Yeah, yeah.
But the thing that gets me the most, like I am like amazed with the house energy, but it's like now I just feel better. I don't have to worry anymore. Like, what am I bringing home? What are my kids bringing home? What spirit's going to be on Snapchat today? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just a relief.
Well, and then that enables you to get on with your work and do what you do, knowing that protection is there, and that you can, do what you do to the best of your ability, and keep growing, because that's also something that happens. You see, you will get. I'm not saying that you're good now, and then you will get better and better, because the clearer you are, then the more connection, the bigger connection you will have, and the clearer connection. So it works, and it isn't just for people who are doing spiritual work. It's for anybody doing anything. It's
Yeah.
just, it's a life thing. And
it's like generals for everybody. And because I said in the Facebook Live that I was trying to do, was that, it's not just if you are a medium or a sensitive, it's fine. You don't have to do that kind of stuff. It's for everything. Like, it's just incredible relief. It's like, it's just an amazing feeling to know that you're protected. And also it's bringing up the work, like you mentioned the work that's, that you're going to have to do as a result. Is it as a result of the bubble?
It isn't that the bubble makes you do your work. The bubble is the bubble. It carries a vibration, and that vibration is in total alignment with universal principles. So anything that is not that, you're going to have to release it. The bubble will not make you do your work.
It doesn't support it?
It supports it in that it supports the correct vibration.
Okay.
So it depends a lot on how resistant we are. As humans, we're very resistant to letting go of stuff, because it's familiar. We always gravitate to what is familiar to us, even if we know that it's not the best. So if there's no resistance, it goes a lot easier. So that's why the rest of the program was developed. But I mean, the bubble will, it will be your best friend, because if something is coming up and this is part of the processing, you have to kind of decide, that person really bothered me today, or that situation really bothered me. It really got my goat, well, as it's not about, if you do this kind of work, it's not about the other person. So what is it in me? What is being triggered in me? I call them Velcro buttons. I say that we have these Velcro buttons plastered all over us. And one might be lack of self-worth. One might be abandonment. One might be, lack of confidence, whatever that is. And you're going to draw in, by resonance, law of attraction and all that stuff, you're going to draw those people in to show you those things. So when you realize what it is, and you go, oh yeah, it's that, and you can, and then you can say, have I really had enough of it? And if the answer is an immediate yes, then you're ready to release that out to the bubble. So, and then, because the bubble can't support it, we're the only ones that are holding those things in place. So little by little, layer by layer, you don't just do it once, you have to do it many, many times. But you get clearer and clearer, and life becomes far more interesting and nice, and your manifestation becomes so much more powerful, because you don't have the boulders in place. Because when we manifest with our issues in place. So you may think you're going to be manifesting something, and then it's like, well, I didn't really want that, And you're like, oh dear, what did I do there? And then you realize that, oh yeah, I manifested with that, all those issues in place.
Because it's your belief, right? You think you believe that you can have money, but your subconscious is like, well, wait a minute,
Yes.
I've learned this my whole life, so I can't just like jump over that. So that it gets more.
Yes, it all comes down to, I call them 3 umbrella issues. One is going to be abandonment.
Okay.
In some way, shape, or form. We will all have felt that we've been abandoned by something, and if it's not something in this earth, it'll be the higher power that you either believe in or don't believe in. It's not a religious thing. And secondly, it will be lack of trust and lack of self-confidence or self-worth. So one will build on the other. So I always say there's only 26 letters in the alphabet, but we can be very creative in what we put together as words and paragraphs and everything. Well, we can also be very creative with our issues. See, there's only so many issues. There's only so many issues, but it's how do you figure out what it is? What is the root? What is underneath that? And some people are really good at figuring that out, and other people are just like they just don't know. And that's what the personal work is, and that's the support that I provide if it's needed, or somebody else. It doesn't have to be me, but it should be somebody. So that
I just want to. I'm going to. Sorry, I'm inside my head. I'm laughing the whole time because I remember you said the issues are going to come up. I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. And I'm like, oh my god! Like I had no idea it was going to be like so quick. And like in your face. So like you mentioned the self-worth thing. So, as a medium and you're out in the public eye and people are going to say things about you and they're going to challenge you and they're going to, whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
There was I said to you this morning, a test, but you wanted me to look at it as not, what did you say? It wasn't a test, but it was like.
Well, it's your journey. It's a part of your unfoldment.
Your unfoldment, right. So it's so obvious to me now. It's like you said, the clearer thing, like I noticed, I'm like, whoa, I didn't go, oh, that's horrible. Why is that happening to me? I was like, that's for me. That's my lesson. And I'm going to deal with it now. Because if I don't, it's just going to keep on happening. But
so that particular thing that you're talking about the way that you're talking about it would come to judgment. Which is part of the self-worth, because you're afraid or nervous or don't like what somebody else might be thinking of you. But you see, the more work you do, you don't really care. You really don't care.
No, but that's why I want to talk to you. But like, I was like, I almost did not give a shit. I was like, okay, this is happening, and I'm just gonna do what I do because I can't worry about what they're gonna think, do, see, say after. And I was like, I felt actually different the way I was. It usually be like negative self-talk, but I was like, no.
Mm-hmm. And that's good for you. And that sometimes takes a lot of practice.
Before I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, I'm trying. Oh my God, what are they going to say about me? But I was like, no, I'm going to own this. I know what I'm doing.
And that's the whole key. When you know what you're doing and you do what you do, and you are who you are, and then you do who you are, basically.
Yes, but it was so noticeable to me.
And so some people, you're not going to please everybody. There's always going to be people who will either try and put you down through their own issues. Mm-hmm. There's a leveling thing. When people put other people down, it's to build themselves up. But in order to do the best that we can do, we can't get tangled up in that. It hurts sometimes when people criticize and say things, and then you're like, oh, why can't everybody just be so supportive? Well, we're not quite there yet, not in this world, but we're working at it. And I believe that it's so important for everybody and it isn't that everybody has to take on this kind of work. It becomes a matter of your presence in the world, right. no matter what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And that changes things. That changes, and that's how the world, the earth will evolve at a faster rate. And the more people that get to that point of not being bothered by just doing the right thing, doing the right thing, being kind and doing the right thing.
Yes,
it's the golden rule, living the golden rule.
And it would be awesome if more people could feel that and know that, and whether they get the bubble or not, it would be nice if everyone would be like, do you know what I mean? Eventually get there. But I just feel a lot, I'm just speaking from experience in the past. When did you give it to me? Last week? Like it was Sunday, I don't know. I came back from New Orleans.
Wasn't long ago.
No, but it was like almost instantaneous. Like And I think I was describing on the Facebook Live that I could actually feel it going in.
Yes, some people can actually feel like a hand goes into their heart. And I mean, it can be a little uncomfortable. It's not like you're having a heart attack or something.
No, it didn't hurt. It was what you just described, like a fist going bleh. But now I'm like, oh, this is a real thing. It's not woo-woo, and it's not like...
No, I mean, you know, people say, oh, it's a bubble. Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that cute? You know, I'm going, well, yeah, it is, but it's a bit more than that, you know.
It's a real thing. It's not like people will say, well, why do I want to spend money on a bubble? Because
I know, and you know, there's times when I'm like, I should really change the name of this because, you know, and then it's like, no, it's a bubble. It's a bubble, you know.
No, they need it. Like I can't. Oh Lord,
I always say well, Jonathan and I used to say, you know, it would be really nice if we could bubble the whole world, you know, and theoretically we could, you know, but we may not.
Well, then there'd be more issues coming up.
Well, no, it's not our right to do that.
No,
it's a free will universe. Everybody has to make their own decision. As much as, you know, I would like to do that, no, I would have to certainly pay for that, and when so I'm not going there.
We'll just do one person at a time.
We do one person. I can do groups. I mean, I can do large groups. It's not a matter of an individual thing. I can do 500.
You go in at the same time. Do you do like 10 bubbles at once, or is it one at a time?
Depends on the situation. If it's a small group, it depends on just the circumstances. I did some kids the other night, 3 kids, and I thought, I could do them all together. And I thought, no, I think I'd like to do them individually. You know, because I get a sense of their own energies. But if it was a large group, I have done groups before, and I just do the entire group because I don't have time to do everybody individually.
And then it would be a different feeling. Like, do you think it would be like group meditation, where it would be like the energy would be amped up a little bit? Like,
oh, it's amped up. It's very amped up. And when I do individual bubbles, I do visions. I just get visions for people. When I do a group, I can't get individual ones, but I generally get a group one, and it's usually something like hot air balloons, you know, all kind of taking off together and then separating off individually, something of that nature. But the visions are helpful. They're just helpful. They don't.
Well, yours for me made sense. So.
They generally do. It's like a dream, you know. It's symbolic. It's very symbolic.
Do you want to talk about where it came from? Because that was the most interesting part with your husband.
Well, it was through Jonathan. He was the one that created it. He was quite a different being. He came from a different life stream than us normal people down here, and he was quite different in what he could always do. And his whole work, his whole life had been towards understanding the nature of consciousness, how people do what they do, what stops them from being their true selves, how does it all work? And this is a lifelong thing for him. I think he started when he was very young, probably 8 or 9 years old, going to different churches, because I'm going to go to that one, and I'm going to go to that one. And then somebody would say, well, you can't go to that one, you're not old enough. And he said, well, fine, then I'll go to another one. And this was when he was 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
And yes, he knew he didn't know he was different, actually. He thought that everybody could do what he could do. Till in his 20s, guess he got a bit serious, had some kids, not with me, with his first wife. And he got angry one day with one of them. And this is what he told me. And he said, I had this maybe light bulb moment. What is this about? This has nothing to do with my child. And he said, I have to find out, because this is not good. This is not good, and I need to get a handle on this and figure it out. So his own personal work started when he was in his 20s. So 45 years ago or whatever. Oh. And it took all the time. He just did it all the time. So he worked with people basically on changing their issues, changing their energetic pattern. So one of his abilities was just to be able to basically click his fingers if somebody had said, I've had enough of whatever it was, and he'd go, oh, okay, fine, done. And the energetic patterning would be changed just like that. We
Whoa.
did, yeah. And he just thought, oh, isn't that funny? Like, I mean,
Oh my God.
yeah. I remember doing a group with him once, because it was always about issues. It was always about this. And we had a group, I don't know, there's about 20 people or so. And we had one person that came, and she was a non-believer. I mean, she's just like, there's no way that you can do that. There's just no way. So she came, and she's out there with her arms folded, for the whole time. And
I know about that.
no, yeah. And he just, Jonathan was Jonathan. He just did his own thing, and we talked about stuff. And in those times, I'm going back a number of years now, pre-bubble, that he would say, let's work on something. What does the whole group have in common today? And let's just say it was impatience, something like that. And everybody goes, oh yes, I've got that. So we kind of talked about it, and then at the end of Jonathan's little talk, he would say, okay, so who of you wants to get rid of this impatient thing? So of course the whole group said, me. He said, okay, close your eyes. And he just went like that. And this non-believer did not close her eyes, because she was going to look at everybody, because she could see. She was a seer. Okay. So she could see the energetic pattern of everybody in the room. And she stood up and she says, holy moly, he really can do this. Or words to that effect. Yeah. A little stronger than that. And yeah, she said, I saw the energetic pattern of everybody in the room change. So she became a believer. So anyway, so going back and continuing on from that, Jonathan had quite a number of clients who would come to him. You know how it is, if you're in this kind of work, you get the same thing over and over. Spirit sends you. We haven't got it yet. Oh, we'll send you somebody else. Oh, we'll send you somebody else, And so all these clients were saying, I've got a voice. It's telling me to go and, drive off the end of a cliff, or it's stopping me doing this or whatever. And he's going, it's just a thought form. We can get rid of that. So he would, because that was part of what he did, get rid of that. And then they'd come back and they'd say, it's back again. And this happened a few times. And he said, this is ridiculous. Like, this is just ridiculous. I'm not going to keep doing this. And then he realized that what the problem was, they had no protection. So he could get rid of the interference, but by the resonance of the issue that the client had, that was the invitation and the resonance which attracted it back again. So he's going, how can I protect my clients while they work on their issues? Because he really wasn't interested in getting rid of the interference. He was always about the issues. So we did a lot of channeling at that time. And he was basically told, well, you came to Earth to create a space. So how about you just do that, and that'll protect your clients? And he's going, what? Like, what? You're going to help me do that? And they're going, no, you've done this in lots of different universes. You know how to do this. And he's scratching his head and he's going, I don't know. So this was, we had a bunch of very sensitive friends, and we said, okay, we'll work on this together. So we would get together, and he create this space. First of all, it was from his head. Like, he would just kind of project this space, and everybody's going, geez, like this. It feels like stainless steel, fingers on a chalkboard. Like, remove it. And so and then Jonathan, being Jonathan, he'd talk around and he'd think about this, and he'd say, well, how about this and how about that, and everybody would say, come on, Jonathan. And this went on for a number of weeks, actually. We'd get together. And then he said, okay, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do it from my heart. I'm not going to do it from my head, because he tried many different times, but always from his head, like really, really intense projection. Yeah. So then he says, okay, you don't like it that way. So then maybe I'll bring it down to my heart and I'll project it from my heart. So he did that. And everybody's saying, oh, that's nice. Oh, I like that. It's very nice. So then this is about the sacred bubble, which was only for protection. This was the first bubble, or the first space. And then he'd go, okay, I'm going to dissolve that one, because the sacred bubble could be dissolved. It was like one of those waterfalls, you know, it comes up and then falls down. That was the sacred bubble. It could be made and it could be dissolved.
Okay.
So he said, okay, well, I'm going to dissolve this one, and then we'll do it again in a slightly different way, because he's trying to perfect this thing, right? So he dissolved it, and everybody's sitting there, and they're going, and Jonathan, in his way, he's talking about something else, and, you know, he's off on a tangent, and everybody's going, Jonathan, can you just make the bubble again? Can you just do it again? Like, we like it. Can you just do it again? So it was interesting times. So that was the very first bubble, which was called this sacred bubble, and that was only for protection. Okay. And then in Jonathan's way, he's like, oh, I think I could make this better. So we'll use the sacred bubble and we'll change the inside of it, so that we'll make the inside of the bubble to only support in alignment. And I say in alignment as opposed to positive, negative, is in alignment fundamental principles and values. So that took us about 8 months, every day, all day. We basically didn't go out. We ate very little. We were looked at for the entire time. It was a process of enactments by him, because basically he had the sacred bubble, and it was in the middle of our living room, and that's what he addressed when he was doing this, was take this out, put this in, take this out, because the space had to be made pristine before we could infuse a quality. So everything that was negative or out of alignment had to be withdrawn. And there was a systematic order for it. Like, we couldn't do it. So all these beings were helping us, and they're saying, well, take this out. And then some of the beings had lives incarnate, so they would have a different experience as some of the ones that had never been incarnate, but had their own view and observations from a higher level. And just to go into that religious thing, that this is not a religious thing at all. It is purely spiritual. There's nothing to do with any religion, but actually it agrees with the basics of all religions. Yes. But it's not connected to any religion at all. So then what happened was, I was keeping notes, the removals, the infusions, who said this, who said that, you know, is this enough? Do we need to do it again? Because sometimes they'd say, no, that wasn't enough, do it again. And then he would have to get himself into that state and do it again. So at one point I said, I can't keep up. Can you slow down? Because I'm trying to record everything that's going on. And the comment was, oh, I see that you're having problems, Hazel. We will, because they were presenting to us individually. Okay. So then they said, okay, what we will do is we will join together. We will present as a collective, and we will call ourselves Unity. And that's why it's called the Unity. That's
why the name Unity.
That's why it's called the Unity bubble. It's got nothing to do with us all being in a big groupy bubble together. Okay. So they gave us that name, and they told us what, it was really to work towards the end of suffering, but starting at a human level. Mm-hmm. So it's starting at the individual human level. So when that is taken on like that, it then ripples out, right? So that's the idea of it, and it's not something a human mind could put together. I mean, there's lots of bubbles out there, then there's lots of good stuff. I'm not putting anything down. Lots of good stuff. There's nothing quite like this. It's not something a human mind could put together, because it's very systematic and it's very individual. Your bubble is different to mine. It will be different to somebody else's. And because it has an intelligence, the things that are appropriate for you, to be brought up for you, will be different to somebody else. Okay. There was a, sorry.
No, I was going to say, because what I feel like I'm picking up from people who are going to be watching this is that they're going to be like, well, I already do a bubble. Because I was teaching, put yourself in a bubble.
Yeah.
Put the light on so you can't see anything, and then put silver on top and blah, 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 and you're good. Yeah. That didn't work for me.
Well, I mean, it's not that there's anything wrong with
No,
anybody's
there's not.
bubble.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but this is a totally different thing. The outer space of the bubble it was Jonathan's vibration, which was much higher than what we have down here.
Yes.
Jonathan was a multiverse being. He was not limited to this universe.
Okay.
He's an ancient being. Like people that I know have seen him in spirit, and he's ancient. I mean, he's just Jonathan, you know. I mean, he was a dude, you know. I mean, he liked to have a beer and go for a motorbike ride, you know. But, yeah, but you know, his main focus was always on the work, and because of his level of his vibration, that's the power of the bubble, and any other bubble that would be put in place, it would not have the extent of these other beings of unity who helped us put this together, because they said in the end, no, it's not done yet. No, it's not done. And it was a process. I mean, it was very, very complex, very complicated in order to get it simple so that it could be transferred. So in the end, when it was completed, they said, okay, now you seal it. You seal this space so that it is then transferable to other people. And at that point, it had an intelligence of its own. And it actually does grow. The more people that get their bubble, the more its experience of itself is growing, and the more powerful it is actually becoming. And it becomes more like kind of like a computer download.
Okay.
Like when it reaches a certain level, it will put out almost like a call that anybody who is open and willing to receive the upgrade, it will automatically go out to them. I don't have to do anything. I just have to keep people open to receiving.
Wow.
So it's very, very powerful. And
yeah. Well, I'm starting to see that. I felt it. Like it's so funny. I was just sitting here thinking, I've seen the post for your Unity bubble for years.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know why. I mean, it's all divine timing and blah blah blah. But like I've seen it forever, and I'm like, that's really. Like, it always went like this to me, kind of like, oh, that's really cool. Like maybe I should. And then it just sort of worked out that you're in my group Earth Angels, and then you saw my post, and then you know, like she needs a bubble.
Oh, I got to send her a note. Because I don't do that. People generally find me. You know, I don't advertise. I don't sell myself. It's a resonance thing, and people they're not ready until they are ready, and not 1 second before. You know, and I always say, if it doesn't resonate with you, then don't do it, because it is going to bring your stuff up. There's no doubt about that, unless you're some monk that's lived up a mountain for 20 years, you know. But even that, you see, it's very easy not to have any issues if you become a hermit. And
there's no one around you to bring up your shit, so you're fine.
Exactly.
Down here, where the real world is, there's a lot of things that and I always tell people they stuff their stuff down. They don't really deal with it. Do you know what I mean? It's always stuff. I don't want to deal with it, but I think it's a good thing to get it out and have.
Oh well, if you don't
deal with it, acknowledge it.
It's, well, I mean, the physical is the last body, right? So if you don't deal with it emotionally, it's gonna end up as a physical thing.
When doing Reiki on people, if they have stuff down there, well, you know, because you do Reiki as well, yes?
Mm-hmm.
They stuff it down. They have a heart pain. They have like massive shoulder pain. They don't know why, and it's like, hello, you're just shoving it in your shoulder, right? Like you have to deal with it. So. Yeah,
it's hard for some people. It's really hard, and they don't know how to. You know, they don't know how to deal with it, and that's where all the support comes in. Is to be able to. It's to acknowledge it. You know, do a Dr. Phil. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. You know. I love Dr. Phil. I think he's great. Well, I watch him. I watch him because I'm like, okay, if that was my client, how would I deal with them?
Yeah.
What would I see? You know.
Yeah.
So I use him as a teaching tool. So, what else can I tell you? It's permanent. You never have to do it again. It's not something that you have to, redo every month or every 6 months or whatever. It is with you for life and beyond. We have a lot of souls, actually. We did a lot of work with souls who wanted a bubble. We used to have our universe arena, and we used to do a bubble session for them. And thousands, if not millions, of souls actually have bubbles.
This is so cool to me. Like, I'm fascinated by this. I'm just like, I listen to you talk all day long.
Oh, I could go on.
Yeah.
I guess Jonathan's there. He's always behind me when I'm working.
I saw him when you gave me the bubble. I'm like, who's that man with the white hair behind you? But yeah. I feel he's proud. He's like proud of this, that you're carrying it on.
That is his legacy. He did come he came to Earth to do some work with the angelics because they were all out of whack. They were all out of alignment. And he did a lot of work with bringing them into alignment. And that was really his reason for being on Earth.
Okay.
Because it had to be done from down here. Couldn't be done from his home vibration or dimension. So after he'd done that, and then he was like, well, I've done my work. I've done what I came to do. I can go home now. And they, the infamous they said, well, as soon as you're down there, you could do something else. And he's going, well, what would that be? So that's they said, well, what would you like to do? He said, well, I think I'd like to help people with the suffering. And they said, well, we can help you with that. So
he had quite a journey.
Oh yeah. Oh, he had quite a journey. And when he'd had enough, he left. He was like, I'm out of here. I'm done. And he basically passed the torch to me because I'm the only. There are other people that can do the bubble, and that's kind of my intention, is to get other bubbleators. We call them bubbleators or facilitators.
Oh, you could teach other people to do the bubble.
Yeah, it's not really a teaching thing. It's an authorization. He authorized me to do it, and he also authorized me to do all the following protocols if they were needed, which they are actually. That's the best way. It's not absolutely essential, but it is the best way because it helps with the issue stuff. But yeah, my intention is to get people able to do the bubble because I can authorize. You see, I can authorize across the world, and maybe in that way that will be.
That's how you get it.
Yeah. So that was his legacy for humanity. So it's a special thing. It's a very special. Wow. Yeah.
So you have you did a bubble, and then there's a program, right, to go.
Yes, the program is to help with the processing. The bubble itself will do an awful lot, but it's kind of like you have the bubble, you buy yourself an expensive car, and you put it in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the working with the bubble means that you take your car out and you fly down Highway 1 in California and enjoy it. You can still have your car, but if you leave it in the garage, you're not getting the full benefit of it. Yeah. So it is ongoing. The work is ongoing. It never stops. I mean, people say to me, well, do I ever get to the end? I say, well, not exactly, but, life gets a heck of a lot better. And, it becomes interesting. It's good. Life is good. No matter what's going on, it's still good,
Yeah.
So so the program is 8, including the bubble, it's eight energetic transmissions. They are all energetic transmissions. Mm-hmm. So they go through a system. If people want to follow that, and that's what I do with people, and that's what I will do with you, Jen.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
because that's the best for you.
Because you have questions. I thought I had questions after I got the bubble.
Yeah,
right. You answered them all the time. But there's a couple of things I didn't ask you yet. But I was like, that's not happening. So you need the support after. You can't just, here's your bubble, bye.
That's not the best way. It is possible to do that, but
I meant don't do that. Don't do that. Because
that's why I have it set up as a program, you see, because before I was finding out somebody got a bubble 6 months ago and they had a tough time because they didn't understand how to process and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's not good enough for me. I support my clients. I don't want anybody to be stuck in a place that they don't know what to do with, or that it's I mean, yes, there are some uncomfortable moments when you're going through your stuff, but it doesn't have to be long and involved. No. You know, and so that's kind of my commitment to it's the integrity of the work, and that's how I have it set up.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing that with you, honestly, because I'm just like, I don't want to be floating around my bubble, and you know what I mean? I want this.
I mean, I can set things up. I always say to people, if somebody really wants to do it, I work it out with them. It's, you know, yes, I have corporate, you know, rates and that on my website, which are probably out of reach for a lot of people, but that's the value of the work. It doesn't mean that's all I do. I work it out. And my whole goal is to move people forward.
No, you're awesome. I was saying, like, Hazel's my new person. If you ever watch Grey's Anatomy, she's that person. I'm like, Hazel's my new person.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I'm so grateful. Honestly, I'm not even just like, if you were off camera, I would tell you the same thing. Like, honestly, I'm so grateful to, like, I can't even tell you how grateful I am. And so that's why I'm telling everyone, you guys need a bubble with Hazel. Like, you have, like, I wouldn't save it if I didn't think that was a good idea.
Thank you. Thanks. That's great. That's great. So we'll see you on Saturday.
Right. Saturday, the 27th?
Yes. Saturday.
What time is that?
2 o'clock. I said 2 because I figured people couldn't do their grocery shopping or whatever in the morning, and then come in the afternoon. So that one's going to be online. Are you going to come?
To your house, right?
Yeah. Yes. I have a couple of other people that are going to come, and they already have their bubbles. They have had their bubbles for quite a while, so they'll be able to maybe answer some questions. And it's kind of nice to sit in the energy too. So
I'm bringing some people with me. We're going to carpool all the way to your house.
Okay, good. Well, I need to send you the address, and so yeah.
Thank you so much, Hazel.
Okay, and let me cut the recording off here.